What a mess. What a complete and utter mess it is. I wonder what the first things that come to your mind when you hear me say that. What was the first thing that you thought when I mentioned mess? I heard a parent saying this the other day as they were scraping one of their children's shoes along the grass verge of the road. What a mess, the parent was saying. And the young boy, who was standing on one leg on the path, looked on as his dad did his best to sort out the mess. How do children do that? The whole path to walk on. The whole path is clear except one little area where the dog has been. That one little area they need to avoid. But you can be sure that that will be the very place that they put their next footstep. Somehow they manage to find it, don't they? I wonder what was the mess that you was thinking about. Maybe the mess of our society. Maybe your life. Maybe your work. Maybe the mess in your lounge at home. Maybe you thought about your children, your finances, your relationships, maybe your car, or even your cooking. It could have been any one of those things, but let us just think for a moment about God's messy plan to save the world. Where does the God of the universe send his son? He sent him to a barn where animals shelter from the cold. Stables were messy. They still are. Animals smell. They still do. Where does God, who has laid the foundations of this world, the God who holds the mountains in his hands, this God who conducts the waves upon the sea and has everything at his disposal, where does this God of ours send his one and only Son? My friends, God sends his only Son to a stable with animals, surrounded by all that the animals need and all that they produce: manure, mud, fleas in the straw. You'll be scraping a child's shoes for months getting all that off. It was a messy beginning for family life. Joseph and Mary must have arrived worn out from the journey. After all, they were just ordinary folk like you and me. They were full of concern about their unborn child. Would the birth be okay? What about if there were any complications? Would Mary survive? Would the baby be okay? Was it sensible for Mary to have travelled so far away from home at a time like this? I wonder if their fears caused any tension between them. They were under a lot of pressure to do this thing that God had asked them to do. They travelled perhaps slowly. They had to travel slower than they would usually have done because of Mary's condition. And then the Bible tells us, and while they were there, the time came for Mary to have her baby, and she gave birth to her firstborn, a son. What a fantastic reminder to all of us about God's timing. God's timing is always perfect. I mean, babies' arrivals can be so unpredictable, can't they? Today, when a baby is overdue, some people recommend going on a journey down a bumpy track in a car. I wonder what a 70-mile trek on a donkey would have done. But on this midnight service, on this Christmas Eve, we cannot question God's timing. As Paul says in Galatians, when the right time came, God sent his Son into the world. Thanks be to God. Amen.